Awkward. Hello, cousins.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
I am so excited that we're doing this. Give ourselves a hand clap and a pat on the back, y'all. We are doing this.
Yes, we are.
So I am Tamar Bibbs, and I want everyone else to introduce themselves. And we'll just
I'm
go around round robin style, introduce yourselves and what we do.
all right. I'm Janelle Lee, and I work for Senior Life. I'm a licensed life insurance agent.
And I'm Michelle Ford. I also work for Senior Life. I'm a life insurance agent, and I love what I do, and I want to share it with you.
Oh, awesome. And my name is Tamara Bibbs. I am a financial advisor. I'm licensed in life and health insurance, and I specialize in estate planning. So we decided to have this conversation tonight. We're calling this the Cousins Corner. And Janelle, I love the theme that you came up with of being no man left behind. And so we wanted to have this discussion tonight with each other, but more so to provide information to our family and friends about why it is so important to have life and health insurance. So, who wants to kick us off tonight?
Well, my first question is, what is the reason? Well, should I put it? I'll put it like this. I'll give you a better question. For most of us, what kind of funeral would you prefer, a traditional or a cremation? It seems like cremation has really escalated in people's choice. Sometimes it's, I don't know, maybe the taboo is gone.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
is it taboo or is it expense? Either way, cremation or traditional is still your options.
I like that.
Good,
Tammy,
good
what? So,
question.
what's your thoughts on that?
So I can tell you throughout my experience of working in the funeral home space that I always wanted to be cremated. Partly because I look at it from an ecological standpoint. And so even if I'm not cremated, I don't want to be embalmed. That's just my
Mm.
personal preference. Because y'all know I'm just eco everything. And so I'm opting for an eco-friendly burial. Yeah.
Okay,
So what are your
very,
thoughts?
very good perspective. I currently have a plan and have had one for, I would say, close to 20 years for cremation. It's going to be a cremation by a traditional funeral.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's already paid for, but now over the years, of course, my sons never liked the idea of cremation because, they don't want to burn their mama up. So it's an
Mm-hmm.
emotional thing. So I think I really am planning to change that, Tammy, and do, like you said, a non-eco-friendly.
Well, I'm doing an
And
eco-friendly.
I'm gonna do a non-eco-friendly
Okay,
and go with
gotcha.
a maybe something like a vault or something.
Okay, okay.
And then you can visit the vault and
Right,
be a
right.
neat, kind of remind me of the
Mm.
pyramids in Egypt or
Oh,
something,
that's kind of cool.
Okay. So what
That's
about you,
kind of cool.
Michelle?
You know what? I kind of go back and forth. Sometimes, I mean, I think traditional because it's so hard. It seems so harsh, to burn
Mm-hmm.
somebody. It just
Mm-hmm.
seems so not human-like. But I guess at that point, we're really no longer human. At least the body is still there, but the soul is
Mm-hmm.
no longer there. So I
Right.
guess separating that thought, I kind of go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I had a cremation in place, but currently, right now, I really just have a traditional one in place. But, it's something that I did go recently go back to a funeral home and talked it over and kind of walked the grounds and looked at everything. So I feel kind of like Janelle. I really like the idea of maybe having a vault, or if I do the cremation, you still have a place where you can visit your loved ones
Mm-hmm.
at.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, speaking of taboos, right? One of the things that I've noticed is that a lot of people don't like to talk about their funeral plans,
Mm,
right? And if they do talk about their funeral plans, a lot of times it's not done in a perspective that allows other people to voice their opinion, although it
right.
is ultimately what you're wanting. So when you're talking to your prospects or to people that are interested in insurance, how do you all approach the conversation of pre-planning your biggest party ever?
Wow. You know what? I really haven't perfected that language, but it is something that I've thought about because, we plan everything else. We want a big party, a big 30th, a big 20, 16, 18, whatever
Mhm.
these digits are. We just make this huge party, but nobody thinks about what about your final party? Don't you
Mhm.
want it to go out in a bang? Don't you want
Yes.
everybody to have fun like we always have? It kind of gives you something to look forward to, even if it's a sad occasion that will miss you, but you will always remember the happiness that it
Mhm.
brought everyone in the end. You can always say, yeah, but we had a great time. So it
Right.
leaves you with a really good feeling. So I think changing the perspective of the taboo, is definitely it should definitely be something. And I guess why not start here? Why can't we just start it?
Right, right. Well, that's what we're here for. So what about you, Janelle? How do you feel about
Well, I like what Michelle said about the final party. I like that verbiage of always, everybody talk about a celebration of life and all this stuff. And,
Hmm.
and it's not even a celebration of life because it's so sad. You know what I mean?
right,
But I would like my partying to be more of a celebration of life and maybe come up with something more. I don't know. You're gonna cry. You're going to cry. That's a
right,
given.
right, right,
But I would like to have more like, afterwards, like let's dance and like, like a wedding party.
right,
That would be
right,
Let's have
fun
a
to like,
line
hey, y'all come back
dance.
and it's gonna be a really show enough, get down, get down. But
right,
with that, of course, it's always gonna be money involved. So
right.
yeah, that's my plans is to have a real party.
Right. But
Okay,
hey,
I like
guess
that.
what? If you did the cremation and got away from the traditional, the money would be there for your final party. So
Mm-hmm.
why not have fun? It's almost like having a big wedding, or do you have a destination?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it could be maybe a destination.
Right. I like that analogy. So it's interesting because a lot of times when we're talking about planning, one of the things that I like to talk to people about is final expense insurance versus burial policies, right? Because a lot of times people get those two confused. A
Yes.
burial policy is not the same as a final expense policy. So to your point, Janelle, if I had the opportunity to plan everything out, I would use my final expense policy to do just that, right? Because with a final expense policy, it could be used for bills, it could be used for your funeral, it can be used for any expenses that may happen around or surrounding your final transition, right?
Hmm.
Absolutely.
And so though that money can be used just for that, right? So
Exactly.
Absolutely.
15,000 or 20,000 or $25,000 policy, that's more than enough to cover
Absolutely.
burial and your final biggest party yet, right? So let's talk about that, right? Why is it important for people to truly think about getting final expense insurance?
Okay. Well, like you said, thank you for bringing that up because there is kind of a confusion about what final expense really is. And like
Mm-hmm.
you said, senior life, we offer up to 30,000 and that is with no medical exam. So that's just like money that you can set aside with no medical exam. And up to age 85, the premium doesn't increase.
Mm-hmm.
So that money could be used for the family leftover as an inheritance. Just
Yep.
want to leave some money for them, or they can pay for your funeral, especially if you've already paid for like your burial. Like mine's already been paid for many years now. So I have that extra money set aside for whatever my kids want to do with it. It
Mm-hmm.
a funeral doesn't feel so empty and sad if you have an inheritance coming.
Come on.
True.
And
So
So
let's
that
talk
right
true.
there
about that.
softens the blow a whole lot.
Yes.
It's
A
like my
lot,
mama loved me so much
right?
that she left me 100,000. for me to get started on whatever it is that I wanted to do.
And not be burdened down and stressed
Absolutely.
over doing
Absolutely. So you can never have enough life insurance. So people kind of like bark, like, I already got insurance. Well, get some more.
it. Because, hello,
Get
a
some
lot
more.
more.
So yeah, because if I got 100,000, I ain't gonna balk and say, "Hey, mom got also 30,000 coming to me." Yeah, this ain't that much, but hey, it is what
Right,
it is. It could be part of that little shindig party that I want to have. So,
right.
y'all, that's my 30,000 over there for my party, okay? And I left you this 100,000 over here for that. And if you got time,
It's all
now it's time to
gone.
start their family business and the
Right.
legacy or whatever it is that she left for them to do. Pay off some student loans and just like take the pressure off and always know that's my love. And love is
Right.
something that you do. It's an action word, Tammy.
Absolutely.
Yes. Let me tell y'all
Yeah.
something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Insurance is the final love letter to your family.
Amen.
So good. So good.
Amen.
I
Final love
love
Oh, that's
it.
a
letter.
good one, Tammy. I like
Yeah.
that.
I'm gonna write
A
that
Okay.
final love
down.
letter. I like that. That's
Write
gonna
that
be a
one
post.
down.
Okay. So, Michelle, what about you?
You know what? I like the idea of having a final love letter because, again, like Janelle said, having an insurance or a policy plan in place will,
Hmm.
bring peace of mind. Not
Right.
only that, it brings comfort, even though you're sad, that the funeral, I'm not worried about the financial burden that it would cost if there was nothing in place. Not
Mm-hmm.
only that, if there's money left that she or he left for you, then it kind of does soften the blow. It
Right.
does ease some of those pains. It's like, wow, you kind of get a little bit of almost like a mother's love or a father's
Hmm.
love or a hug, from
Right.
them.
Right.
So, you know what? We gotta, share more opportunities like we're doing tonight, share how beneficial that having a policy in place. This is not taboo, it's
Hmm.
life.
Right.
Amen.
And
And
we
life,
go through it.
at some point, it has to transition to something else. So making it normal, is what we really need to do. It's not like what the old people did. It's what young people ate. Death does not have an age.
Doesn't
Ooh, no, it
discriminate.
does not.
So we forget, that just because you're young, you're not going to be here forever. None of us are. So
No.
being prepared it just makes sense.
Yes, I totally agree. So there's a couple of things that both of you all have touched on, one of those being an inheritance, right? And we're going to have that conversation for one of our future events because I don't want to, start going off, but that is something that, when we talk about this, right? I always tell people that the Bible is the first trust that we
Wow.
been given access to because it lists all of our inheritance, right? And so now, as parents, we have to start making sure that we're aligning ourselves with what our divine inheritance is.
Mm,
So when we talk about insurance for us in our community, that is our lifeline, right? Most of us have
yes.
not been born into um, rich families, right? Most of us have not been given, a minimum amount of money through, just because it's our inheritance, right? Most people in our demographic, being Black, the only time we really come into these large sums of money like this is when it has been given to us as part of an inheritance, right? But how do we now shift the conscious mindset of our community understanding why having insurance, no matter, like you said, the age of that person is so important, especially when they're younger. Let's talk about that, y'all, because in our communities, we think we're supposed to start getting insurance when we're already having, disease
Hmm.
and everything else, when truly we should be looking at it from the time our babies are born. So let's talk about
Yes.
that. Okay. Because I think this is gonna be a good conversation
Yes.
as to why it is so important to get life insurance at zero.
Mm,
And let's just work our way up from there and why
Absolutely.
it's important that at each phase we should be considering it. So let's talk about it. We're gonna all throw some stuff out there, but for me, let's start with why it's important for you to get insurance on our babies as soon as they're born.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Tammy, there are certain types of insurances. And I don't want to get too deep on this first
Mm-hmm.
conversation, but because for one, there's different type of insurances. And the
Mm-hmm.
earlier in any of those insurance types, the earlier you get them, the better. The age is
Mm-hmm.
cheaper.
Right. Right.
The rates are very low and they
Yes.
stay well, if you get a good policy, it's going to stay consistent. It doesn't matter the
Hmm.
age, whatever time you lock in, that's how long it's going to last.
Right.
Then you have those kind that actually they're going to grow and they're going to gain value and
Cash
interest
value.
after you've paid whatever that face amount that you want. If you want 100,000 and you've reached that amount, well, that money's sitting there gaining a 10%. You can't get that in the
Mm-hmm.
bank.
At all.
So at
That's so
that
true.
point, you can choose to borrow some of that money out
Yes.
for whatever. I can get married, go off to college, a down payment on a house. But your
All of
parents
that.
started that out as a
A baby,
child,
yes.
Right.
knowing
Whew.
that they can have living benefits with
Yes.
this. Or if you get sick or something throughout, you don't know where and what you could. So having the different type of insurances at a very young age is smart because it's going to save you money
Mm-hmm.
and it's also going to earn you money. And
Right.
I'm going to give that over to my sister because she'll probably have something else to
Okay,
say.
yeah, that's
Yes.
awesome. Those are so
So just
good.
to recap, it's gonna save you money and it's gonna earn you money.
Absolutely.
Yes, I like
Wow.
it. I like it.
Wow.
All right, Michelle. So
Yeah, that's a
take us
lot. That's a
away.
mouthful. And that was a lot to process right there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But
I
take it
just want to,
higher. Let's
I'll
go
just,
higher.
you know what? I'm actually just going to piggyback off of that because, what Janelle was speaking about is whole life. So
Mm,
again, a lot of times we go back and forth, especially, when you're looking for trying to save money, people choose to use term. I've been that person myself, but now
mm-hmm.
that I've become more educated, finding out that purchasing a whole life policy is my entire life,
Mm-hmm.
not for a term of my life, not for a portion of my life, knowing that if I would have purchased it at a very age of 0 years old, a baby, an infant, whole life policy would have been like they could get on as a rider. And
Mm-hmm.
that's usually for like $3, $4, $5 added
Mm-hmm.
to your adult policy.
Mhm.
Right.
And then that child, once they go off to college, it is has earned money to where they can go off to college. You can afford them to go off to college by
Mm-hmm.
borrowing from the policy.
Mhm.
And then it again putting back money back in there. And then when they're off and ready to go get married, they could possibly provide for their wedding. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole lot of benefits with a whole life policy, and educating people about having a whole life policy
Mm-hmm.
versus a term. Terms are good for what they're good for, but just knowing where their limits are and
Mm-hmm.
understanding the limits of these type of policies. So yeah, those are really, really good points. And I know we can
Yeah.
probably go on and on about it.
Yes. Yes. So
Absolutely.
you both brought up some really good talking points. I'm telling y'all there because for me, I'm looking at it. We talked about it from zero, but then you also mentioned in marriage, and I think a lot of times we get married and we don't think
Hmm.
that that is another time for us to consider insurance. So, one of you explain why is marriage a good time to consider insurance, especially on your spouse?
Wow.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So now you've brought another person, another responsibility, another loved one that you've
Mhm.
chosen to partner in life. And now you're probably going to have children and build your family. So these are loved ones that you do not want to leave without an
Mhm.
inheritance
Mhm.
or struggling with credit card debt or struggling with my student loan debt or struggling with my car that I left, or
Mhm.
whatever it is, or kids may be in private schools or they make, college funds. I don't want my child because I think when you have your own children, it's one thing to have parents and understand the love from a parent, but then when you give birth and have children yourself, the amount of what do you call it, self love, selfless love you don't even think about yourself anymore. It's all about them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tie that you can't untie.
Mm-mm.
So to think that I'm going to leave here and leave my kids struggling behind, or if I'm with a spouse or whatever, my life partner, whoever you choose, then I just don't want that person struggling. So that's a very good reason to reconsider. Okay, I was single at one time and I had a life insurance policy so my parents
Hmm.
could put me away. Now I
Mm-hmm.
have acquired more things. I may have started a business and I don't want that business to go under
Right.
because of my untimely, because nobody knows their time.
Yeah.
So whatever happens to me, I don't want it to stop just because I'm no longer here.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Michelle.
Again, like you said, marriage brings on a whole nother responsibility. And again, talking about having a plan in place is so important. It's something not people don't want, again, people don't want to talk about it, but
Mm-hmm.
then when you need it, it's not there. So
Right.
talking about it ahead of time and normalizing, hey, there's a conversation that needs to be had. So, getting into any kind of union, whether it's a marriage union or a business union, you need a plan in place when you're involving someone else in your life.
Mm.
So with business, I've worked for a bank in the banking industry for over 20 years now. And, but working with businesses, I've seen where partners die and they had a growing business and you never see this account. It always just it's on auto pay. And
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden you see this account popping up telling you, hey, the bill's not paid. And you're like, wow, that's odd. It's been 5 years going or 2 years going and there's never been a hiccup. What's going on? You get them on the phone and you finally reach somebody. Well, the main partner has died.
Mm-hmm.
So now they don't know how to move forward because all of his debts is now falling on them. And then a lot of times they may have to shut the business down.
Mm-hmm.
So then that leaves the debt split amongst them. And, it leaves them in a really bad situation. So I know, personally, even in a marriage, same
Mm-hmm.
thing, the husband doesn't share that we have this going on and you're not covered. So having a plan in place, you just you got to have a plan in place. You just got to make things, don't leave other people stuck with your bills. Whoops, you're
Very,
not
very,
hearing you.
very
Yeah, I'm
good
sorry.
point.
I have a little. So, when we talk about y'all both got brought up some very good points, right? Um, and you know, Michelle, when you talk about, especially as business owners, why it's important that key person policy is definitely important, right?
Hmm.
And so when we're talking about business succession planning, that's one of the things that we discuss when we're sitting down with clients who have a business is what is your succession plan?
Hmm.
How do you plan on replacing your income if something should happen? Same thing as a marriage, right? When you become one, a lot of times both of your income is being combined, right?
Hmm.
And so now you're trying to figure out how to, you know, get your end of the bills met, along with the fact that you now don't have that additional source of income coming in. And now you're trying to figure out how to cope. Right.
Yeah.
And how do I pay these bills? How do I maintain my current standard of living? And so, one of the things when we're working with our clients is we do what is called a life analysis. We look at your liabilities, we look at your income, we look at what it's going to cost for your final expense, and then we also look at any extra or any education expenses. And once we have that number, we calculate how many years you want to make sure that if you could not go back to work, right? And you needed to take the time to grieve. How much money would it cost to replace your spouse's income? And then we look at that number, and that's how much we determine should be placed on your partner, right?
Hmm.
We want to at least get it up to as close as that amount as possible.
Absolutely.
Being comfortable because a lot of times we get insurance and sometimes we're over insured to the point that we can't pay our premiums.
Right, right.
So we want to make sure that, you know, you can still have your standard of living, if your spouse is not here, but also being able to pay that
Mhm.
premium so that you can maintain that cost of living. I mean, that income if something should happen to your spouse. And so, thinking about that number is a lot of times we don't do that.
Right.
We
And
don't
that,
sit down and come up with a
right.
total number.
And of course, that is really a good point. Being overinsured to where you're not able to afford the premiums
Mm-hmm.
goes back to the earlier you get it, the
Mm-hmm.
lower the
Mm-hmm.
cost.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
understanding that putting it off, thinking just because you're young, you don't need it. There's a
Right.
lot of reasons to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Cost,
Right.
your health,
Yep.
and it's a no-brainer. You're gonna die. So
Mm.
there's three main reasons to go ahead and get your insurance policy in place when you're young.
Right.
And then you can go about your life, and
And
enjoy
do
it.
things that you exactly. So, do y'all
Another
have any?
reason,
Go ahead.
another reason that she made me think of is you don't. A lot of people say I have insurance on my job,
Wow.
so they feel like they don't need it, and especially when you're young. Well, really, we need to flip that because the young people don't stay on no job long. But
Mm-hmm.
back in the day when I was working, it's nothing to stay on a job for 10, 20, 15. And some of my people I see are retiring still from their very first job.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Mm-hmm.
something that is so
They
becoming
don't do that no
extinct.
more.
That is
Right.
insane. Even if you
Don't do
stay
that
at
no
a
more.
job 5 years is a big deal. But
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
needless to say, a job having insurance, which is term, is not yours.
Nope.
Right.
When you walk away now, I'm 5 years older, I'm 10 years older, I have some type of health issue that you're going to now need to get your own insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then furthermore, even if you stay on the job and retire, are you planning to die at 65? What if you
Exactly.
don't die? So basically you're planning to die at 65, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to talk about, oh, I plan to die at 65, so therefore I don't need no insurance.
Right. Right.
I mean, that don't even make sense.
Right.
So you need insurance when you're younger. So at
Mm-hmm.
65, I'm just now starting to insure people, and it's costing them a
Mm-hmm.
pretty penny.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
these are people that by that time they got high blood pressure, they're diabetic of some sort. Hope God forbid that they didn't had a heart attack or been in the hospital. That's even more.
Yep.
So you
Yeah.
never know. Breast cancer doesn't discriminate
Sure
either.
doesn't.
Nope. Nope.
All these cancers do not. So you
Yeah.
just never know.
Yep.
So you brought up something that was really interesting, that I think people should also understand when it comes to getting insurance is that when you have pre-existing health conditions or when you have health conditions, we talked about the cost, but I want to just go into a little bit why the cost is the cost when we're talking about that. Because an insurance company, they look at several different things when it goes through the underwriting phase, right? They're looking at one, your health, right? They're looking at two, when you go to your doctor's office, everything that you're telling your doctor is inputted into the MIB, right?
Unfortunately.
And that's what the insurance company is now using to rate you when it comes to giving you insurance. And so, to your point earlier, as to why it is so important to get it when you're younger, or to get it when you're healthier, or to get it outside of your employer, is because the plan that your employer is going to put you in is going to be the bare minimum.
Yep.
Okay, the bare minimum. They just want to be able to collect off of you as well. So they're going to give you the bare minimum, right? Because they don't want to invest that kind of money into your life. The only reason why they're investing that amount of money into your life is because you're an employee. And it goes back to them being able to say, well, this here, we we work your husband to death. And by the way, $10,000 policy, right?
It's not funny, but it's true.
I'm just telling
I'm
you,
not
right?
laughing.
Yes, we worked him to death, and
I'm laughing to keep from crying, but it's the truth.
here's $10,000, right? Versus you getting insurance outside of your employer, and you're looking at whole life, or even if you start off with term life and convert it later on, right? the point is that you want to have something outside of the employer. You want something that's going to give you living benefits if you're going to go with term, or you want something that's going to give you cash value if you're going with a whole life policy, right? And so I think that when we're talking about the different types of insurance as it relates to life insurance, it's really important that you sit down with a professional, someone like us who is well versed in the insurance terminology and what you should be looking at and working within whatever health, they work with Senior Life. I work with several different life insurance companies. So we're able to find you a plan that works for you, whether it's through whole life or whether it's through term or whether it's through final expense. Get some insurance. That's our whole point.
That part.
Amen.
That's our whole point for this conversation today.
Yes.
Get something, right?
Yes.
Because what we don't want, let's talk about what we don't want, cousins.
No fish fries.
Come on, no fish fries.
And let's stop these GoFundMe.
GoFundMe, Jesus.
We're not doing that.
I mean,
because
come
the
on.
interest rate in that alone is ridiculous. And we're not
Man.
okay. Why are we not doing
but in the meantime, they got a Gucci belt, got some Gucci shoes. I don't know, they may be Uchi, but they look like Gucci.
Right?
You got your hair done.
People
your
spend
nails
all
done.
this time on being consumers and buying stuff that don't buy any value. Mm-hmm. And this is actually adding value. It's another, point too, Tammy,
right.
Is it's going to add value to your life because you have a life insurance policy.
But even more so, because this is my thing. We insure our homes.
Yes.
Right. So if your home is a $300,000-$400,000 home, that's how much insurance you have on your home. Your cell phones, right? Let's talk about your cell phones. If your cell phone is up to $2,000, that's how much insurance that you have on your phone, which means if you don't have any insurance, that means your cell phone is more valuable than you.
Okay? Wow.
And that means that you're working to insure something that will never, ever, ever
have a return.
Be able to pay your funeral or anything else. Okay. We're just talking about, because we know we're going to die. Right. And I have no problem discussing that conversation because I've seen it. Right. I've seen the extent of it. So when it comes to this, I'm just going to be upfront and as plain as possible. You are going to die. It's just a matter of where, when, how, and what.
Yes.
Okay.
And the first the first thing they want to know when you die, do you have a policy?
That's the first thing everybody gonna be sitting.
Okay. When you get to the funeral home, when your body is taken to the funeral home, they're gonna know, well, do you have a policy?
That's the first thing I want to know. Right.
And I'm sure you know firsthand, you've seen babies, you've seen it all at the funeral home.
Yes.
It don't matter about your age.
It don't matter. Everybody got it.
He need this.
Everybody, let me tell you something.
They need this to put you away.
Exactly. And hear me out. The only reason why, I'm just taking a little bit farther, right? When you die and you go to a cemetery, you are literally paying for some people the only piece of land they will ever own on earth.
Wow.
Let that sink in.
Let that sink in. The only piece of land that you have ever owned on earth is where they're going to put your body when you die.
6 foot by 6.
And if you think about it, that's not much.
That's a good one.
Right? So now what we're talking about is we know we have to go through this transition in life. That's inevitable. How you choose to do it and by what methods you are trying to fund it, that's what we're here to talk to you about, right? We want you to know how you want your final disposition to be. We want your family to know that, because nobody want to go on a scavenger hunt trying to find anything in your house after you
wow.
It's not fair. It's not.
So
get you a binder. And we're going to talk about what that binder is and what it should include and where you should. We're going to talk about that in our other conversations. But for tonight, our main goal is to get you to call one of us to get a quote for a final expense policy, for whole life, for term, whatever. And the goal is that by the end of this year, which is, we got about 60 days for you to quit wasting time thinking,
Don't let another year go by.
okay,
If
don't
you
do it.
lucky enough, if you're
Because
lucky.
Christmas is coming up.
buy everybody in your house for Christmas. That's what you should be
That
spending
part.
your money on,
That part.
right? Not out buying gifts, because a lot of people say, I can't afford it. It costs too much. Well, first of all, you have to know how much it costs to know whether or not it costs too much. Number one.
The same people who are having all these crazy proms, you know how they have the prom, they got a whole event for the prom night.
Wow.
Right.
And that's just one night. It's prom. Kid ain't getting nothing but graduate from high school. Just getting started. Birthdays. Every year they got a big birthday blowout. I'm going traveling. I don't know how they doing it, but they somehow are doing all these fabulous trips. And I know most of these people ain't got a 6-figure job. But
So
somehow they're doing it. They're in the Caribbean somewhere.
So one of the things I always tell people is that with a budget modification, and what that means is actually sitting down doing a budget and then putting it in place. That's why I call it a budget modification. You'll find that you have more than enough income coming in to be able to afford the policy. Now, I will tell you that after you get up to the age of 50, if you do not have on average an additional $250, now I'm talking about whole life policies. I can't talk about final expense, but we're talking about, but as the age go up, it's going to get more expensive.
Yes.
And so that's why most people consider starting with term and then moving to whole life, or just getting, whatever the choice is, right? Our goal is to make sure that you are insured. That's what our goal is.
Absolutely.
And we want you to contact us. We're going to have our information listed on each of our posts when we post this, and reach out to us individually so that we can help you to get started. Do not wait. If you have children, they need insurance too. If you have a spouse, they need insurance too. You need insurance too. Okay. So before you think about buying whatever and doing whatever for the holidays, I want you to strongly consider
A plan, an insurance. That's a great gift.
to yourself. You owe
That's
that
a
to yourself.
great
Tell yourself
gift.
how much you really think you are worth to you.
Yeah. Nothing like having a real gift that actually can extend beyond yourself.
They can make you money.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, these are great conversations. I know we're
Yeah.
gonna have more in the future. Let's keep this going. And
Yeah. Do y'all have
yeah,
any other questions, comments,
I don't have any other
concerns?
questions. I think that's probably more than enough for tonight. But let's look at some other opportunities with the weeks coming. Let's keep
Yes.
educating. I love this.
Yes. We're coming back next week with another
Let's be back next
episode.
week.
And we don't know what we're gonna talk about yet, but just stay tuned, because we're gonna drop some gems from now to we get this out.
Amen.
Absolutely.
But what it's gonna
Absolutely.
be about is definitely gonna be about get your life together. Get
Yeah. Don't do
die
that
in
to your
style,
family.
die in class,
Yes.
leave an inheritance.
That part.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
part. That inheritance guy. We're gonna bring the word. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna be quiet, because that's, I get excited. You start
We're
talking
gonna
them
bring the
words.
word to you.
Yes. Then
Let's
I get
break the
excited.
taboo.
Yes. So y'all, this was fun.
It was fun.
I enjoyed it.
Yes. So next week we will be back, y'all. Stay
Stay
tuned. Again, you can
tuned.
reach us through all of our various pages. Our on Facebook, we will be posting this to Facebook. I'm also going to be posting this to YouTube. So y'all, listen, stay tuned. We're going to have more conversations with my cousin.
Hey, sister cousin, sister cousin.
All right, y'all have a great day and be
All
blessed.
right. Good
All right.
night.